He went to Eton. He got clean from a 5-year heroin addiction. He made a film that bombed at the box office. And then he offered a television network a free pilot just to get his foot in the door. And they said yes. That man is Henry Cole, the creator and host of Shed and Buried, one of Britain's most consistently watched specialist factual shows. But the story of what this program actually went through to stay on air and what happened to the face that launched it is not a story most viewers know. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why Shed and Buried changed, who really drove its early success, and why what happened behind the camera says more about the show's future than anything you'll see on screen. Before there was a shed, there was a 14-bedroom rectory in Norfolk, a stiff upper lip army major for a father, and a boy who grew up with too much space and not enough to rebel against. Henry Cole was born in February 1964. His family lineage connects, on paper, to William Ewart Gladstone, 4 times Prime Minister of Great Britain. His great-uncle, Dick Redbeard Gladstone, was the one who actually mattered in Henry's world, a genuine eccentric who handed 8-year-old Henry his first love of British motorcycles. The Gladstone the country knew was a statesman. The Gladstone Henry knew lived closer to the ground, and that gap between where Henry came from and where he was headed would define everything. He arrived at Eton. He sat in classrooms alongside the future Boris Johnson. And then he grew marijuana in his room, was caught, confessed, and avoided expulsion by a margin thin enough to embarrass the institution. It all went slightly wrong at Eton when I started smoking weed, he later told interviewers, with the mild understatement of someone who had seen far worse arrive after it. What arrived after it was heroin. Between the ages of 19 and 24, Henry Cole was an addict. 5 years. He has described it as a period he does not fully remember. He spent 250 pounds a day on the drug. His company collapsed. He attempted to take his own life twice. 9 of his friends from that era did not survive. He got clean in 1988. He has been sober since. That is the foundation. Not the camera work, not the shed rummaging, not the haggling. The foundation is a man who looked at the bottom of his own life and found enough to climb back on. And here's what most people who know this story stop at. They hear about the addiction, they hear about the recovery, and they assume the path from there ran in a straight line. It did not. Clean from heroin and now in his mid-20s, Cole started as a news cameraman. He worked for ITV and TF1, learning to read a scene, capture a moment, and tell a story without a script. It was unglamorous work, real events, tight deadlines, no guarantee your footage made the cut. But it built the instinct for authenticity that would later make everything else work. From news, he moved into rockumentaries. He spent years on the road with heavy rock bands, filming the machinery of live music from the inside. This is where Henry Cole learned how to build relationships with people who didn't want to be managed. Musicians who operated on their own terms, who respected directness and loathed pretension. He absorbed that. It shows in every negotiation scene in every shed he has ever walked into. Then came the films. Age 28, Cole directed Mad Dogs and Englishmen, a semi-autobiographical feature about heroin addiction, with Elizabeth Hurley as his lead. He described the experience later in a single sentence. It was a disaster. They were all rookies. The film failed commercially. The friendship with Hurley was, by his account, the only thing that worked. After the film collapsed, Cole didn't retreat. He pivoted. He pitched a new television program called Stars and Cars to Channel 5. They were not interested in him as the host, so he offered to produce a free Christmas pilot at his own expense. If it rated, they would commission the series. It rated, Channel 5 commissioned the series. Stars and Cars ran for 5 years. That decision, absorbing the entire financial risk himself to bypass the gatekeepers, is the most important business move Henry Cole ever made. It established the template for everything that followed. He founded HCA Entertainment in 1995. The company would go on to produce shows for ITV, Channel 4, Sky 1, Channel 5, Discovery, and the Travel Channel. Every show Henry Cole has ever appeared on, his own company has made. The number that came next, nobody who followed this channel expected it. The motorbike show came first. It launched on ITV4 and ran for 13 series, establishing Henry Cole as the go-to voice in British motorcycle television. But it was a format built around riding and reviewing. It was good. It was not what made him famous. Shed and Buried launched in 2015 on Quest. The premise was stripped to almost nothing. Henry Cole and his mate Sam Lovegrove drive around Britain, knock on the doors of people with interesting sheds, haggle over whatever vintage machinery is inside, bring it back to their Oxfordshire workshop, restore it, and try to sell it at a profit. No constructed drama, no artificial competition, no countdown clock. Two blokes who genuinely liked old things and each other, doing what they would probably be doing anyway. The key word is genuinely. The show worked because neither man was performing. Henry Cole haggles the way a man haggles when it's his own money on the line, with charisma and risk and occasional frustration. Sam Lovegrove assessed machinery the way someone assesses it when they have spent 30 years doing exactly this in professional workshops. The cameras caught something real. That is difficult to manufacture, and British audiences recognized it immediately. Shed and Buried built a loyal international following. It aired not just on Quest, but on the Travel Channel worldwide. Fans in the United States, Australia, and across Europe followed it. An 8.3 rating on IMDb from viewers who took the time to review it. For a show about men buying rusting tractors in Gloucestershire, that number is remarkable. What happened next is the reason this story spread across the internet. Sam Lovegrove was not discovered by television. That needs to be said clearly, because the casual viewer saw a warm, knowledgeable mechanic and assumed the show had found itself a likable character. What the show had actually found was one of the more quietly credentialed engineers in British vintage automotive culture. Before the cameras, before Cornwall, before the sheds, Sam Lovegrove worked at Gemini Accident Repair Centers, where he designed suspension and gearbox systems. He went on to work as a development engineer at Honda Performance Development, contributing to projects that included the Honda NSX and the Corvette C7R Le Mans race car. After that, consultancies with Aston Martin, Jaguar, and Lotus, and then a role as a specialist at Brute Superior, the marque once called the Rolls-Royce of motorcycles, reborn under new ownership in 2013. Here is the detail that ties directly back to Henry Cole. In 2013, the same year Brute Superior was relaunching, and Sam was working with them, Henry Cole rode a Brute Superior on the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah and set a world land speed record for a pre-1955 750cc motorcycle, reaching 99.78 miles per hour. These two men moved in the same world. They were introduced on a television documentary that year and recognized immediately that the other was the real thing. Sam appeared in roughly 50 episodes of Shed and Buried, not 60, not 100, 50. Fuzz Townsend and Guy Willison, who followed, each appeared in 60. That is one quiet detail that reveals something important about how the show actually evolved. Sam was never the full-time structure. He was the original spark. And then, in 2020, he vanished from the screen. No announcement, no farewell episode, no press release. He was simply gone. At this point in the story, most people walked away. What happened instead is the part nobody talks about. Danger Boy. The second half of a filming season arrives. Sam Lovegrove is not in it. The internet notices, theories appear immediately. Accident on set, creative falling out, illness, personal crisis. The speculation picked up speed the way speculation always does when a television personality disappears without explanation. Henry Cole did not release a formal statement. He posted a video on his Facebook page, which not every viewer saw. In that video, he gave two distinct explanations across two separate absences. The first absence, the 2020 disappearance, was attributed to a severe reaction to an insect bite. The bite was serious enough to send Sam home from filming. The exact nature of the bite, the insect responsible, and the medical severity of the reaction have never been detailed publicly. Henry addressed it. Sam has never personally spoken about it in any recorded public statement. The second absence, the late 2022 disappearance mid-Series 4, had a different explanation. According to Cole's account, Sam was committed to completing 2 motorcycle restorations with a fixed deadline. The filming schedule would have required him to abandon them. He chose the machines. That choice tells you something about Sam Lovegrove. He had spent 30 years building his reputation on finishing jobs properly. Walking away from a restoration under deadline, even for a television series he had helped create, was not something he was willing to do. Whether that calculation was right or wrong, it was entirely consistent with how he had conducted his entire career. Fuzz Townsend stepped in. A former professional musician turned automotive expert, he played in Slade's final lineup in the 1990s before pivoting to engineering. Fuzz was already known to British TV audiences from Car SOS on National Geographic. He and Henry had chemistry. He fit the format. The show did not collapse. Here's what the comments kept asking, and here's the answer they never got, until now. Where would I have? The interesting question about Shed and Buried is not whether Sam Lovegrove's absence hurt the show. It did, in terms of the specific dynamic the first 4 series had built. The interesting question is why the show survived at all, and what that survival reveals about what was genuinely strong about the format. Most shows built on a dual-host friendship fall apart when one half of that pairing leaves. The audience came for the relationship, and without it, they have no reason to stay. Shed and Buried defied that pattern. Series 5, 6, 7, and now Series 8 have continued to draw audiences. Series 8 premiered on June 1, 2026 on Quest. Fuzz Townsend and Guy Willison are now the confirmed co-partners alongside Henry. The machine works. The reason it works is not complicated. The show was never really about Sam and Henry. It was about the sheds. About the people who collect things for 30 years in a leaking out building in Somerset and never show them to anyone. About the strange economics of nostalgia, where a 1950s Triumph Thunderbird that sat under a tarpaulin for 4 decades becomes a negotiation between two people who both know its real worth and neither wants to admit it. About the restoration workshop in Oxfordshire, where things that were broken come back to running condition. Sam Lovegrove brought specific credibility to the restoration element. That credibility now lives with Guy Willison, Skid to his friends, who handles the workshop sequences. The dynamic shifted, the core held. And if you think that was surprising, stay with me, because this next part is why the whole story matters. While the question of what happened to Sam Lovegrove has dominated the fan conversation for 4 years, the more significant story has been quietly unfolding around Henry Cole himself. SCA Entertainment now has over 30 years of continuous production behind it. The company has produced shows for ITV, Channel 4, Sky 1, Channel 5, Discovery, The Travel Channel, and NBC. Find It, Fix It, Flog It ran to 170 one-hour episodes on Channel 4 and Yesterday. World's Greatest Motorcycle Rides reached 70 episodes filmed across multiple continents. Junk and Disorderly, a companion show focused on vintage automobilia, ran to a 4th series on Blaze in early 2026, with discussions underway for a 5th. The Motorbike Show ran 13 series on ITV4 before ITV4's format changed to prioritize sport, at which point Cole moved it to its own website rather than waiting for a broadcaster to house it. That last decision matters. Henry Cole does not wait for permission. He demonstrated that in 1995 when he made a free pilot for Channel 5. He demonstrated it again when ITV4 changed its priorities, and he simply built his own platform. The same instinct that got him clean, that got his first show commissioned, that built his production company, the refusal to accept the situation as fixed, runs through 30 years of professional decisions. Gladstone Motorcycles, the bespoke British motorcycle manufacturer he founded, carries his great-uncle Dick Gladstone's name. It produces handmade British motorcycles for a limited clientele. In May 2023, Cole and engineer Alan Millyard rode Millyard's custom Viper V10 motorcycle at Elvington Airfield in North Yorkshire and set a new Guinness World Record for the fastest tandem motorcycle, reaching 183.5 miles per hour. Cole has now set world records in 2 separate decades on 2 very different machines. His live theater tour launched in 2025, covering 17 UK dates. The 2026 tour is now running, expanded and with new material. He has written 3 books. He continues to host and direct. At 62 years old, he is operating at a pace that most people half his age would struggle to sustain. And that's when the decision was made, the one nobody around him saw coming. The decision was not one dramatic moment. It was 30 years of choosing not to stop. Sam Lovegrove reportedly operates from his workshop in Redruth, Cornwall, where he has always been most himself, working on machines, away from the scheduled pressure of a television series. He has reportedly appeared in Dom Chinia's Cornish Workshop, a series built around engineering projects in Cornwall, which has given longtime fans a way to see his work again without the pressure of a full series commitment. He has 4 children, a private life he has consistently protected, and a professional reputation that was built in workshops long before any camera was pointed at it. He has not given a formal interview about his departure from Shed and Buried. He has not posted a video or written a statement. For a man who never really treated television as his primary identity, that silence is entirely consistent. Shed and Buried Series 8 is on Quest now, running weekly. Henry Cole, Fuzz Townsend, and Guy Willison are in barns and outbuildings across Britain, arguing over tractors and classic British bikes, drinking tea, and occasionally failing to make a profit on something they definitely should have left in the shed. The format is intact. The show is in its 11th year. The broader picture is this: a man who spent 5 years as a heroin addict, whose friends died around him, who came back clean with nothing, who offered a broadcaster a free pilot just to get through the door. That man built one of the longest-running motoring shows in British television history. He owns the production company. He owns the motorcycle brand. He is currently on a national theater tour telling the story of his own life to sold-out venues. That story is not about a shed. It never was. The real question Shed and Buried forces you to ask is not what happened to Sam Lovegrove. It is what happens when the thing you love is also the thing that saves you, and you spend 30 years proving that the love was never contingent on the fame. Henry Cole is now into Series 8. Sam Lovegrove is in Cornwall, fixing bikes on his own terms. The Shed rummaging continues. The show that started as a free pilot bet in 1995 is still finding things worth restoring, both on screen and in the life of the man behind it. The question worth putting to viewers who followed this show from the beginning is this: do you think Shed and Buried is still the same show, without Sam Lovegrove? Or did the cast change prove that the format was always bigger than any one person in it?